Imagine making a financial decision this week that quietly steals years of your future. Not because it was reckless, because it felt responsible. That's the part nobody tells you. The biggest financial mistakes rarely announce themselves. They don't look like gambling away your savings or buying a Lamborghini you can't afford. They look like normal life. And that's exactly why they are so dangerous. Here is something behavioral. Economists have understood for decades. People don't make financial decisions to maximize wealth. They make financial decisions to minimize discomfort. The single truth explains why millions of intelligent people slowly become trapped by debt without ever believing they are making bad decisions. Let's see how it happened. We call him Jack. 28, steady paycheck, bill paid on time, no designer clothes, no luxury vacation. The kind of person everyone describes as good with money. Maybe that's what people would say about you. Jake's story didn't begin when he went into the depth. It began the day he stopped feeling afraid of it. The envelope looked like good news, a new credit card, a higher limit. It didn't feel like borrowing, it felt like progress. A sign he would finally become a responsible adult. So, he made himself a promise. I will only use it for emergencies. Almost everyone starts there. And to be fair, his first purchase really was an emergency. His car needed new tires. Without them, he couldn't get to the work. A month later, his laptop died. Replacing it was not about entertainment, it was how he entered a living. Reasonably necessary, defensible. Then his friend planned a weekend away. Jake opened his banking app. He hesitated just for a moment, then a familiar sentence appeared in his mind. Life is short. So he booked the trip. Here is the question. Have you ever bought something not because you wanted it, but because you didn't want to miss that moment without it? That's where debt usually begins. Not with greed, with justification. A birthday gift, dinner with family, concert you've been waiting months to see, a streaming subscription that's only a few dollars. Each decision is too small to feel dangerous. Each one makes perfect sense on its own way. That's the illusion. Because debt never sounds like this is a terrible idea. It sounds like your own inner voice. I will pay it off next month. I deserve this. It's only this month. One purchase, one story, one comfortable excuse. Repeated often enough that excuses become habits and habits become identity. Think about the last five things you bought, not the expensive one, the ordinary one. How many still add value to your life today? Now, ask yourself something harder. How many are still costing you money? Jack never noticed the change because nothing dramatic happened. He still went to work, still paid his rent, he still made his friends on weekend. From the outside, his life looked exactly the same. Inside, his brain was something learning something dangerous. Every time he used the card, it whispered the same lesson. If today feels uncomfortable, tomorrow can pay for it. The frightened part is not that your wallet believes that. It is that your brain does. And once the lesson becomes normal, the definition of an emergency quietly begins to grow. Until one day, Jake opens his next statement and saw four words that felt like relief. Minimum payment due. He smiled. He thought, and the problem had just become manageable. He had no idea those four words were designed to make sure it was never really disappeared. Jake stared at this statement. The bills were higher than he expected. Not enough to panic, just enough to make him uncomfortable. His mind replayed every purchase the tires, the laptop, the weekend trip. Nothing felt irresponsible. So, why did the total feel so different? Then he noticed four words minimum payment due. $46. He blinked. That's it. The tension disappeared almost instantly. He paid it, closed the app, went back to his evening, and that was the moment the trap closed. Not because he made the payment, because he felt relief. Here is something bank understand extraordinary well. People don't crave debt, they crave emotional certainty. The minimum payment doesn't eliminate your financial problem, it eliminates today's anxiety. Your brain mistakes those two things for the same outcome. Behavioral economists call this present bias. We naturally overvalue immediate relief while underestimating future consequences. That's why paying $46 today feels better than converting $4,000 tomorrow. Your emotions celebrate, your balance doesn't. The next month, the same statement written. The depth was still there, a little larger. The minimum payments still look manageable. So Jake paid it again. Then again. Without realizing it, he stopped asking, how do I get out of a debt? Now he asks, what's the least I need to do today? Both questions sound almost identical. They are not. One builds freedom, the other maintains survival. Months after months, the ritual become automatic. Open the app, pay the minimum, close the app, forgot about it. That's another psychological trick. What we stop looking at, we stop feeling responsible. Until one evening, Jake noticed something odd. A subscription he had forgotten about, another recurring charges, then another. None of them were expensive. That's what made him dangerous. Financial stress rarely comes from a massive decision. It comes from dozens of invisible ones. Tiny leak, repeated every month, slow enough to ignore, fast enough to keep you broke. Have you ever opened your banking app, sees a number you didn't like, and quietly decide you would deal with it later? Later becomes next weekend becomes next month. Eventually, avoiding the numbers feel easier than changing them. Jake was not avoiding his balance. He was protecting the version of himself that still believed he had everything under control. That's why debt becomes so deceptive. It doesn't change who you are overnight. It changes the stories you tell everyone. I'm just having a busy month. Things will settle down. One good paycheck will fix this. Meanwhile, something else never stopped working. Interest. It doesn't care whether you are motivated. It doesn't care whether you have made a budget. It doesn't care if you stop checking your statement. It compounds anyway, every single day. Jake believed he was managing his money, but he was not. He was managing his emotions, and those are very different skills. Then one afternoon, he had an idea that sounded surprisingly intelligent. Maybe I don't have a spending problem. Maybe I have just the wrong credit card. Cashback, travel points, better rewards. It felt like a smart strategy. He had no idea he would just confuse optimization with justification, and that mistake could cost him far more interest could ever. December arrived. Almost overnight, life became more expensive. Not because Jack wanted more, because life doesn't hit you with one giant expense. It invites you into dozens of small ones. A gift for parents, dinner with friends, holiday travel, coffee between shopping stop, decorations you will use for a few weeks. None of them look like a financial mistake. That's what made them so dangerous. Because depth rarely grows through one reckless decision. It grows through ordinary moments that feel impossible to say no to. Here is uncomfortable truth. Some purchases are not about what you are buying. They are about who you don't want to disappoint. Nobody wants to be the friend who say I can't make it, or the son who buys the cheaper gift, or the only person at the table checking their bank balance before ordering. So we spend not to impress people, to belong. Behavioral psychologists call it social proof. When everyone around us treats spending is normal, saying no begins to feel abnormal. We are wired to protect our places in the group, even when it costs us financially. Jack was not buying things anymore. He was buying peace, belongings, moments, and because those moments feel meaningful, the debt attached to them becomes almost invisible. Think about the last memorable weekend you had. You probably remember the conversation, the laughter, the people. You probably don't remember how much interest those memories are costing today. That's because your brain stores experiences, not payment schedules. By January, the holidays were over. The decorations came down. Life returned to normal. The balance didn't. Jake opened his banking app. The number stayed back in him. There is no way I spent that much. He was not making excuse. He genuinely couldn't connect today's balance with yesterday's decision. That's another trap of the debt. The pleasure is immediate. The consequences are delayed. When the bill finally arrives, it feels disconnected from the choices that created it. So, Jake made another promise. This month will be different. No unnecessary spendings, no excuses, no eating out. You have probably made a promise like that too. After my next paycheck, after my bonus, next month I will get serious. But tomorrow is where our best intentions go to hide. Because habit doesn't change when the calendar does, they change when your identity does. Then another notification appeared. Your credit score has changed. It has dropped. Jake frowned. He would never miss a payment. He thought responsible people paid on time. And they do. But lenders look beyond payment history. They look at dependence. For the first time, Jake noticed his credit utilization. His card was not simply helping him anymore, it was carrying him. That realization lasted only a few seconds before his brain offered another comforting explanation. Maybe I just need a better card. More cashback, more airline miles, more reward. It sounded smart, but here is the question he never asked. If this purchase earned nothing, would I still make it? That's the moment everything changed. He stopped questioning the purchase. He started optimizing the excuses. That's how financial rationalization works. Your brain doesn't need the decision to be right. It only needs the story to feel right. Jake believed he was becoming more sophisticated with money, but he was not. He was becoming more sophisticated at defending the habit keeping him trapped. And within day, reality would interrupt every story he would telling himself. A week later, Jake opened an email. Your mortgage application has been declined. He read it twice. It didn't make sense. He had a steady job. He would never miss a payment. He was not trying to buy a mansion, just a place to call home. A few days later, he sat across from a loan officer expecting a complicated explanation. Instead, the conversation lasted less than a minute. The loan officer turned the screen towards him and said, your income is not the problem. Your debt is. No lecture, no judgment, just reality. On the drive home, Jake was not thinking about the mortgage. He was thinking about every reasonable decision that had quietly led him here. The tire, the laptop, the weekend away, the holiday gift, the subscription he forgot to cancel, the reward card that made spending feel smart. None of those choices look life changing. Together, they change his life. That is the danger of financial decision. You almost never feel their weightage when you make them. You feel it years later when they begin closing door you thought would always be open. That night, Jake opened every statement he spent months avoiding. He was not looking for purchases. He was looking for one number. Total interest paid. Thousands of dollars gone. Not invested. Not compounding. Not building freedom. Just gone. And then a question hit him harder than the balance ever had. What do I actually own because of this? The answer was almost nothing. The experiences were over, the excitement had faded, the payment remained. That's when he financially understood something most people never do. Debt doesn't just finance purchases, it finances the illusion that you can have tomorrow's life using today's money. But tomorrow always sends the bill. People think the cost of debt is interest. It is not. Interest is simply the receipt. The real cost is opportunity. Every dollar spent servicing yesterday's decision is a dollar that never buys an investment, never compounds, never creates choices. Wealth is not destroyed at all once, it quietly redirected from your future to someone else. Remember the promise Jack made? I will only use it for emergencies. He never broke it overnight. He redefined the word emergency one decision at a time until comfort become necessity and boring become normal. Maybe that's why this story feels familiar because Jack is not reckless, he is not responsible, he is human, and that's exactly why his story matters. Behavioral finances teach us that people really lose money because they lack intelligence. They lose it because the brain is wired to choose immediate relief over distant reward. Once you understand that, everything changes. You stop asking, can I afford that payment? And start asking, what future am I giving up make it purchase feel comfortable today? Because every swipe is more than a transaction. It's a trade. You are exchanging a piece of your future for relief in the present. Sometimes that's worth it. Most of time it is not. Remember how this story began. The financial mistakes you will make doesn't feel like mistake. It feels responsible. That's why everyone almost misses it. And that's why the people who build wealth are not necessarily smarter. They simply learn to question the comforting stories their own mind creates. So the next time you reach for your credit card, pause. No to ask. Can I afford this? Ask the question that almost nobody asks. Will my future self thank me for this decision? Because one day you will open your banking app and the number staring back at you wouldn't just reflect your balance. It will reflect thousands of invisible decisions made when no one was watching. Make sure they are decisions your future is proud to inherit because Financial freedom is not built in one extraordinary moment, it's built quietly, one ordinary decision at a time. If this story changes the way you think about money, tell me one financial habit you are changing today, not next one, today. And if you want more documentaries that explore the psychological money, not just the number, subscribe.